Hello, one and all, and welcome to another episode of Baggers Chat. We have returned for season 2024. My name is Mitch Pattinson, and as always, we're joined by Ethan Daffy. And as just said, we have officially returned for 2024. We did a bit of a season launch last week or 2 weeks ago of the whole 2024 season for Baggers Chat, but we have officially now returned for our first episode for 2024. Daffy boy, happy new year to you. And first things first, mate. How are you?
I'm well, mate. Happy New Year to you and obviously the viewers. It's been a good break. Obviously, you want to get into the thick of things and stuff like that. About this time now, so we're all keen for the season, and like we just said before recording, the roller coaster begins, and hopefully it's not as big of a roller coaster as last year. In terms of the ups and downs being so drastic, but hopefully we're more on the kind of upward trajectory in a sense.
Yeah, let's just hope that we're kind of like, it's not, as you said, like a roller coaster where it's like up, down, up, down. Let's just hope that it's kind of more stabilized throughout the season. But of course, I mean, we were speaking about it. There's a few, there's practice rounds coming in a few weeks, and then of course with the opening round with the season that's starting a little bit earlier, the 8th of March is of course when we verse the Brisbane Lions up at the Gabba. Of course, they give us Brisbane Lions at the Gabba opening round, but who cares? We always want the best competition to start off the season. But of course, you're going to the game, Daffy boy. So that's awesome to get some. I mean, maybe some content up there for Baggers Chat, but we're going to get straight into we're going to get straight into the thick of things, and we're going to start off with some negatives. And there's been two major names that have come out since we've last recorded our episodes, and two major injuries that have come out of the club. And we're going to start off with probably the biggest one, the most unlucky one, in my opinion, out of the team. And it's, of course, Jack Silvagni has ruptured his ACL and is officially out for the 2024 season. One thing I'll say is just extremely bad luck. It's a guy that you just want to see out there every single game, and you know that he's capable to do that. And, of course, now with him being officially ruled out for the season 2024, which is the 4th or 5th straight season of us having ACL injuries. So I don't know if there's something going on with that Icon Park track or if it's just simply unlucky. But it's frustrating because it's a guy that like he would be so much more frustrating than any person on this earth. But you're also from a supporter base, you're like, another ACL injury, it's happened again. But initial opinions on that, Daffy boy, for Jack Silvagni and the ACL injury, in terms of structure, what it means for our team going forward, but also for him and his luck. What was your thoughts?
Yeah, first of all, your kind of heart goes out to a bloke who's obviously, heart and soul type player. He's loved by all of us supporters. I know he cops his flack outside of the club, fans saying he's just there for the name, but we know what he brings to our side. So, it's disappointing. Like we were saying once again before we filmed, it was I couldn't really believe it. I saw some post saying it was like a heartbreak emoji in Jack Silvagni. I was like, what's going on here? And then obviously the news came out that he did his ACL, and it's huge structurally for us. I think he can play numerous roles. Obviously, we'd rather him up that half forward flank, being that 3rd or 4th tall, but. And being the second ruck as well. So it's going to be huge for me. I think it's actually huge for guys like TDK, Pitto, to stay fit. So it's going to be interesting. And for me, I think we'll probably see a debutant in terms of Hudson O'Keefe or Murkov at some stage. I think Hudson O'Keefe's more of a chance for my thinking. At some stage of the season, I'm not saying at the start of the season, but I think we'll see a few more blokes come through because of this injury.
Yeah. So my question with that is because I'm purely asking to do with the structure, because, I mean, I don't know about your best 23 heading into season 2024, but I know with mine, I initially had Silvagni. Bless you, mate. But I initially had I initially had Jack Silvagni in the best 23 because he was so important as that second ruck, and I gave TDK that sole ruckman position. And my question now is, I don't know if I want to go with two rucks because we all know how great Pitnet is, but you also need to see it from a point of, I want to have TDK as that sole ruckman. I want him to have that genuine opportunity where he can be the sole ruckman on that field, and whoever is second ruck needs to be capable enough to, like, of course, go ahead with that position, but also not be, I guess, like, I don't want him to be dominated in the second ruck position by another side who has a good second ruck. But a name that comes to mind, and I want your opinion. Throughout the season, throughout the season in 2023, we saw a guy, Lewis Young, come in as a second ruck or the main ruck when, of course, Pitto and TDK was injured. Jacob Weitering is now injured as well, which, of course, we are about to touch on. Is Lewis Young potentially in line for an opening round debut or a round one? I mean, not a debut, but to be seen in the Navy Blue for opening round and round one while Weitering is injured? Because one, he could be that key back, but also he could chip in as that second ruck. What was your thoughts?
Yeah, I think Lewis Young will play the opening game. I think he'll be as a defender. I think going into opening round, you probably go. Even though I said it before that we will probably not opt to have both Pitto and Teddy K most of the year, but you seriously don't know. Like, I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and they were saying, like, best 22 now. Like, what is a best 22? There isn't a best 22. You know what I mean? Like, it's a good topic to talk about, of course, but you're never going to have the best 22. You know what I mean? Like, not just injuries, but like we talk about best 22, and like look at the back end of the last year. We had guys like Fogarty. He's not best 22 talent. He's not, like, talent-wise, he's not.
No.
He's just not in the best 22. But in form-wise and how he fits into the team, it's funny, isn't it? Like how best 22 works. I think best 22, we can talk about it prior to the season, how we want it to look. But when it comes to, round 1 to 4, I kind of look at it as blocks in terms of, you go 1 to 4, 5 to 8. So forth. It's like months of the season where the guys are coming in and out in terms of form. We're going to have guys pushing into the team because they're playing so well in the twos. And for me, it's going to be a very interesting topic in terms of selection every week. Like, it'll be pretty unpredictable at times, I think, too. But yeah, back on Lewis Young, I think he'll play, but I think he'll be defender.
Yeah. So another question for that is, before we move on to Weeders, of course, Lewis Young, when Weeders does come back in, can you see Lewis Young as his second ruck, or do you think it could be a bit of PTSD from last year, especially that Essendon game when Weeders and Lewis Young playing together? It just simply doesn't work, because I think they're both lockdown defenders, but I think as soon as Lewis Young was taken out of that equation, Weeders would then be really good, but also vice versa. Lewis Young would be really good without Weeders because he's playing that sole position where he's most confident. But so when Weeders does come back into this side, and you know that he definitely will, if Lewis Young is playing as that second ruck as well, what do you think might happen there?
Yeah, I for me personally, I think we're going to try and avoid playing guys completely out of position. Unless we have to. So if Pitto and Teddy K are fit, of course they're going to be playing as the ruck. So let's be real. And for me, Teddy K can play half forward. He can replace Jack Silvagni and play forward more, and then have Pitto as the ruck. So I think it's a great thing to have. It's going to be very, very interesting, because last year we had a patch of the season where we had Sauce and Lewis Young as our ruck, so we were winning games. But I just don't. For me personally, I think once Weeders is back, I think Young will make way, because I think Marchbank is going to have a massive. I think he's the most talented defender we've got. When he's flying and running at the ball, and he's fit and firing. So, I know Weeders is fantastic, but a lot of people are talking about Marchbank. A lot of talk about Marchbank, and it does bring a smile to your face, because you've got a lot of guys who are so talented in this team. It's unbelievable. Patto, like, we're talking about the depth we have, and we're not even touching this. Like, this is the surface. We're not even made a deep dive in this episode yet in terms of who can come into this side. You got young fellas like Moyes and Binns, who won the VFLB and F in his first year. Like, that's what I'm talking about, Patto. It's like best 22. Like I like the conversation, love it. But right now, it's like, what is the best 20? There isn't. I don't think there is a best 22.
No.
For me, you always go best 26, 27.
Yeah.
That can go into that team and make an impact, So, it's good. It's good problems to have, Patto.
I think with Fox Footy, what they need to start doing is they need to do team squads. Like 44, 45 players. Which one's got the best team? But no, it's really well said, and I'm really glad that you actually mentioned Marchbank, because he's been one of my favorites ever since he's joined the club from the GWS Giants, and he's just a player that he is so talented. He talent, perfect size, perfect agility. He's got everything that you ask for as a defender, and that's my one thing is that he's just been so unlucky with injury that now, touch wood, finally he seems like he's starting to get some confidence in his own body that hopefully season 2024, he is going to play a full season, but also he's going to potentially be in contention for the All-Australian. I mean, that might be a very bold prediction, but it's also when you think about it as a Carlton supporter, he's very much capable to do that, because when we saw it towards the end of the season, how great of a player he is, but also how smart he is with the football as well. He's got talent in that sense, but also when the ball's coming in, he flies and he kind of times his jump well. And he likes spoiling, but he also likes marking. He just seems like he was very confident with his own football towards the end of season 2024. But we're now going to touch on, so of course we're going to very quickly touch on Jake Weitering and the calf injury. But Daf, initially, what were your thoughts on this injury? And right now, it seems like he's going to miss the start of the season, but also we all know how great and how professional Jacob Weitering is. How do you see this injury? We kind of expect Lewis Young to come in to replace him, but with this injury, of course, how does this affect Weiters and his 2024 season?
Yeah, it's frustrating. Obviously, it was before the Jack Silvagni injury, so it was our worst injury of the preseason at that time. But for me, it's obviously a negative to miss him at the start of the year. But I think if he's going to have an injury, it's probably the right time to have the injury in terms of it's not in the middle of the year or heading into finals. So for me, he's a professional Weiters. So I think once he comes back into the side, which will be probably round 3, 4, maybe even 2, those blokes, him and Walsh and those types of guys in their recovery, they find a way to get everything out of themselves to get into the team quicker than they were first thought to be. So, it's going to be interesting in terms of how we're going to cover that. Who knows? Lewis Young might not come in. It might be, Marchbank, McGovern, other guys like that who can cover the talls in terms of the Brisbane Lions, and then obviously Richmond the week after. So, it's going to be an interesting conversation. I think it's going to be interesting to see how we roll without him in preseason, because I think that'll tell the story. I think especially the Melbourne game, the official preseason game, which will be 4 quarters, a full game, which is often the proper practice match. We'll see if Lewis Young is, if he's the key back in that game, or they play with Mitch McGovern and Marchbank kind of rolling off their man and being that key back. Because I think Marchbank can be that key back, in my opinion. I think play the tall, and McGovern has proven he can play tall and small, and you've got other guys who can roll through there as well. So it's a lot of questions heading into the first round, but I think they're more positive questions. Obviously Weitering is not a positive in terms of injury, but sometimes those injuries can lead to positives and gives opportunities for guys Marchbank and stuff to step up, and even Lewis Young to get a crack in the team, and maybe he stays in the team if he plays good enough. So Patto, it's going to be a long few weeks to really tell who's going to be in that side.
Yeah, and we touch a bit, we speak about how a negative like this, like an injury, but could also lead to a positive. We saw it with Nick Newman last year, with him kind of going through as that Zach Williams role, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens with season 2024 when Williams does come back into the lineup. Nick Newman will still play, how that's going to shape out. But also you've got a guy like Jordan Boyd who played the prelim, and he played fantastic. He right now, he's in my best 22, 100%. He needs to play opening round, and especially with us playing at the Gabba, I think he needs to play. But in terms of a genuine best 22, that's the thing. That's why a best 22 to me is very unrealistic, because you kind of heading into the game, you've got different reasons to play these types of players. And
Yeah.
that's why, like the prelim last year, we didn't really see Jordan Boyd coming in. But I mean, we did. But in terms of like
Yeah.
external, I think as
Yeah.
a like, Jordan Boyd won't come in. But when you're playing at the Gabba and you kind of know so much about the game and so much about and like we know so much about the side, we kind of expected Jordan Boyd to come in because he would have suited the Gabba really well. And
Yeah.
another player that could also come in for Weeders is like a Brody Kemp. Like he played really
Yes.
well last
Yes.
year, and he can. I think potentially you could have a Marchbank replacing that Weeders role. McGovern still keep like he can still do what he has been doing the past 2 years.
Yeah.
Kemp can
Yep.
also be that rolling off defender, and he's
Yep.
been really good as well. So, but we've got to now move on to a bit of a what do you call it, corporate side of things with Carlton Football Club. But of course, the president and the CEO have both signed extensions for, of course, themselves to stay at the club, which is great. I think it's great to see these guys extend their contracts to 2025, and especially with Brian Cook, like he's been fantastic as a CEO. We know how great he was at Geelong, but also Luke Sayers, a guy that's come in. Was a bit of a shaky start to start off with when he first came into the club, but ever since then, he's been absolutely fantastic, and you can't really talk that down because he's been so he's been a shed of light in the darkness. I think last year especially, like he didn't have to come out every single week and say we apologize to the members, like this isn't good enough. We're going to do everything in like our power to make sure that we can change it. And at the time, you're like, yeah, I don't want to fucking email from the president because they're just earning money. But at the end of the day, they actually care about the club because they're Carlton supporters as well. Like Luke says,
Yeah.
is a Carlton supporter. So he obviously cares about his club and obviously cares about his position as well. And he wants to be president at a club that is very successful. And I think that's their plans at the end of the day. But Daf, what were your thoughts on these two extensions? I think it's completely valid, but what were your thoughts?
Yeah, fantastic. I think you're spot on. I think, for me, if I was a president and I came into a club that hasn't had the success for a long time, I think you'd want to leave a mark on the club.
Yeah.
You want to leave a mark on the club, and obviously that marks a premiership and financial stability, on-field stability, off-field stability. So I think them staying on is fantastic. I don't think at this time we need a change of the guard in terms of presidency and CEOs. You want to keep that stability. You don't change. You don't want too much change. And I think for me, the reason why we started to win games of football was we kept stable considering the start of the season. I remember Sayers came out. There's a press conference. I think the TV stations were just at the front of Carlton. He was saying, we're not sacking Michael Voss. We can still make finals, and all that type of stuff. And for me, it's similar to on-field. We're keeping stability in terms of leadership. Obviously, Cripper is going to be captain again this year. I'd imagine in the upcoming weeks, they'll probably announce that in terms of leadership group. We him, Walshy and Weeders again, I'd imagine. Keeping that stability on-field, off-field. And as a supporter base, there's nothing that fills you with confidence then, knowing that everything's in place before the season starts. That was the same as last year. And when it's positive, you don't want to, the good old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So, just keep it going. And like you said, the way they've been going about it is fantastic. Both, while we're losing games, we might have had a bit of a joke about the business side and the sponsors we were getting and the money we're making, but that's huge for the club as well. So, it's just great. And having these guys on board, especially with Vossi, obviously he hasn't re-signed officially yet, but I think that'll be very, very soon, probably in the upcoming weeks as well. So you got your head coach, your president, your CEO locked away, and key players locked away. It's a very, very good sign because we haven't had that, in a while. And, I think in the middle of the season, they got someone off the board. It might have been that Bruce Matheson or whoever it was out of the club. And then things change. You get the negativity out of the club and you keep stable. And I think we just brought in someone from the board who was a CEO of some business. So it's all heading in the right direction, Patto, I feel.
Yeah, completely spot on. And who knows, like this year, if we win the premiership, we might have to send the guy that was kicked off the board just a bit of an email saying, thanks, mate. But obviously I'm kidding. Obviously I'm kidding. But we're now going to move on to a bit of a position change that we've seen. I mean, I'm sure that over the next few weeks, there's players that we will see in training that may slightly change their position. But a guy that's very evident that has been seen to be quite bold with his position change, which is Ollie Hollands. And he's looking to try and play some more midfield minutes. I know that he was playing on the wing initially, but I mean, throughout the whole season, he was playing as a winger, but he wants more CBAs. He wants more centre bounce attendance. And I don't know how it's going to work out, but I think it's always a good thing to add a string to your bow where if a player does go down halfway through a game, or even if a player is out, like a laid out and someone has to come in, you can rely on a guy like Ollie Hollands. And that's why, like, especially in the practice games, I wouldn't mind seeing that, because if he's come out and saying, look, I would love to try and be more of a midfielder, more of a on the ball midfielder rather than an outside runner. It's always good to see, like, hear players speak about that and always trying to find other ways to improve, just like not just their game, but also might improve our side. Because
Yeah.
if he goes onto the ball, who knows, there might be like a guy that's initially on that, like in that sort of midfield mix that might change positions as well, and it might turn out to be really good. But I'm not too sure how to say it, because I love Ollie Hollands on the wing anyway.
Yeah.
But what's your thoughts on this, Daffy Boy? And if there's any more players that come to your mind, like initially about some position changes that you've seen, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, Ollie's similar to his brother. I think they can play numerous positions.
Yeah.
They've got the tank, they've got the running capacity. Like you said, I love him on the wing. I think he will be starting on the wing opening round. I think it'll be him and Akers. And for me, I think Cottrell, we need that running power off half forward because he can kick goals, and we saw that in finals. So, but yeah, I agree in terms of, Ollie's point of view in terms of midfield. I think he'll become a midfielder over time. I just think he's got the dog in him. He's got the dog in him, Patto. He's got that dog. He's got he's got that thing. You know what I mean? The way he plays, and his first season, you could just tell every ball he was fighting for, every minute. And obviously, he was substitute in the semi-final, comes on, and it's just like he played the last three quarters. You know what I mean? So he's an ultimate professional. I think we've absolutely got a really, really good player at pick 9 with Ollie Hollands, and it's really good to see. And there's something about, even I was listening to Elijah talk on the podcast the other day, in Carlton podcast, and I don't know, there's something about them. They're just real professional and really, really want to just improve as people as well. So for me, I think Ollie's a future leader at this club and current leader at this club. He'd be setting the standards at this age. I think you can't put a cap on the age in terms of leadership. And yeah, for me, he can play any position. You can put him half forward. You can put him. He's got that creativity. He's got that ball use, that running capacity. I think the AFL these days, I think you need all those types of players. Your Cottrells, your Hollands, all those types of guys who've got speed and pace. Because I think the game's turn into more, a running based game. I feel like running. Obviously you're going to have the skill in terms of football, but I think you look at Collingwood. They've got pace. They might not necessarily have the most skilled team, but they won the premiership based off that fast-paced football. And, they had guys like Markov, who was a VFL player, but he was in the side. People might have a laugh at those players, but you go, gee, like he's got the pace and what they need. So, yeah, it's an interesting topic, and it's going to be hard for him to break into the starting midfield, of course. But I think he can definitely rotate through there, help him out in there.
Yeah, completely agree. So that's probably enough of the news, I guess, that's come out of the club. And now we're kind of more looking towards season 2024. Now, we've had a bit of content come out in the past few weeks of, I guess, some quick fire questions. Now, at the time, we didn't know what questions were coming at the time, Duffy Boy. Now, some of the answers that I guess, put were a little bit outlandish, a little bit out there. But you know what? I'm going to stand by him. But also, we're going to try and do some predictions here. And if anything kind of changes where, like, I could put one thing here saying, yeah, this is what I think. But at the end of the day, it's out there. I'll stand by it. If Cottrell is like a hand and he doesn't play for the whole season 2024 when I predicted him to be All Australian, oh well. Oh well, it's fine. But we're going to move into some predictions. But first things first, probably the most, I guess, obvious one is the Carlton Best and Fairest. Daffy Boy, who do you have as your John Nichols medalist?
I think if he plays most, if not all, the season, I think Sam Walsh wins the John Nichols medal. I think he's, the way he played at the end of the year is going to reflect in that in terms of he's going to build through that. And obviously the preseason, he's been putting in work. So, yeah, Walshy for me.
Yeah. I initially went with Adam Chera, but I think now I'm starting to think of it where it's either going to be Ches or Walshy, and I'm going to go with Chera. Chera is... I'm going to be a little bit different. I don't really want to try and change it. But, I mean, if I want to truly think of it, I don't know. But I initially think Adam Chera is in store for a unbelievable season 2024. But predictions for the leading goal kicker. So, of course, there's probably 2 or 3 names that really come to our mind for the leading goal kicker. But Daffy Boy, leading goal kicker for season 2024 for the Baggers.
Yeah, it's looking like more of a positive in terms of we're looking at a few other guys. I think it's probably on Harry and Charlie for the top 2 goal kickers. I think Harry's going to have a big year. I know, we always say that, but I think I just got a feeling he's going to turn the corner again and get back to where he was. I think he works too hard on the track. I think he works that hard on the track to not get results. So I think for me, it's all mental for Harry. But I think for me, I think it's going to be Charlie. I think he's going to have a big year and go back to back for our leading goal kicker and the Coleman.
Bloody hell. Has that ever happened? That's probably happened in the history.
Probably, maybe like a Tony Lockett or one of those. But still, it's hard though, 3 in a row.
Bloody hell.
But I think for me, his competition's Tom Lynch with Coleman, and even Tex Walker, because his form last year was phenomenal. So I think he'll be still up there. So, but I think Charles going to kick more goals than he ever had, and I think he's going to be a big player this year.
Yeah, one player I will say also that you didn't mention, and I reckon he's well and truly in store for a big season, is Jeremy Cameron. Like last year, he was good because I think his position kind of changed last year. But if the Cats go with him being as that sole forward alongside Tom Hawkins, we don't know how Hawkins is going to play this year. But if Cameron is that sole forward in the forward line, I reckon he's in store for a big season. But completely agree. I think Charlie Curnow is going to be their leading goal kicker for season 2024. Now, a bit of a new segment this year for us at Baggers Chat, and we're going with a Bagger of the Year. So we will vote at the end of each game. We don't know the voting system just yet. We will come out probably in the next few weeks with what the voting system will be, but it's pretty much who we think is the best player of each game, and we'll do votes. So say if it's 3-2-1, player would be the best player would just be 3, or we might even do 5. We might even do more, but we're going to sort that out over the next few weeks. But Bagger of the Year, Daffy Boy, who do you have?
Yeah, I think it's obviously you look at Walsh and you look at players like that. But for me, I think the way I'm going to vote probably for this award is the impact on the game.
Yeah.
And obviously Walsh and that are going to have massive impact. So he's probably up there. It's going to be tough. Me personally, I think it's going to be. I've had a few names pop up in my mind. I'm not going to go Walsh. I'm not going to go Walsh. I think it's going to be Paddy Cripps.
Wow.
I think he's going to have a say in the John Nichols medal as well. We're all thinking about Chera and Walsh and da-da-da-da-da. And, Walsh for the Brownlow. Why can't Cripps push for the Brownlow? Let's be real here. Let's be real. If he turns it on first few weeks and he gets going into the final series, he can definitely be Bag of the Year. So, Paddy Cripps, he could be the lucky man to win the ultimate Bag of the Year.
the inaugural. The inaugural.
Yes, inaugural. Yes, I was trying to think of the word. I was like, it wasn't great.
Well, I mean, I do say a lot how much I've got a bit of a man crush on Paddy Cripps, and my girlfriend's not too happy with it. And I feel like if we put Bagger of the Year to Paddy Cripps, she'll be like, well, that's fucking rigged. So probably shouldn't. But Bagger of the Year, I am thinking the exact same thing. I think it's going to be impact. And I'm I'm going with Jacob Weitering.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yes, he might miss a few weeks at the start of the year, but it doesn't really matter because we saw it last year where he wasn't the Weitering that we kind of knew. And I still
Win
say
the
to this
league.
day, he should have been All Australian last year. Definitely.
Yeah.
He should have definitely
Yeah.
been All Australian. And he was pretty ordinary for half of the season and half a year. And he's
Yeah.
pretty much almost All Australian. He probably should have been All Australian. It was pretty unbelievable. But I'm going to go bag of the year, Jacob Weitering. Now, out of the box prediction. So I've got one in my mind that I'm rolling with, but I'm not too sure. But out of the box prediction, Daffy Boy, who are you? What are you thinking in that little brain of yours?
It's 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 I've had a few different ones. I was trying to go really outlandish, but I think this is realistic. And I think if he gets his body right, I think he'll play opening round. I think Orazio Fantasia is going to kick 35 plus goals. And I think most seasons he has been fit. He has got to that mark. So I think we need a third guy, whether it's him or Motlop, to kick that amount of goals. I think they can combine for a fair few goals. I think Orazio is going to be very good for us, Patto.
Yeah.
I think he's the perfect I know he's obviously, he's kind of medium, isn't he? He's not short. He's like a medium kind of forward. I think he can replace Silvagni in terms of the opening round side. So, yeah, Orazio to kick 35 plus.
Okay, so I think now this might be a bit outlandish. We've said outlandish a few times throughout this episode. It's a bit of a new bangers chat. Word of the year, outlandish.
Yes.
But out of the box prediction, now I'm gonna go with a certain player that is gonna finish in the best and fairest top three. It might be one. He might win the medal. He might become second. He might come second place. He might come third place. But some way, somehow, Georgie Hewitt is going to be top three in the best and fairest. Now, my reasoning for that, 2022, he was fantastic. He was probably one of our most important players throughout that. Now, last year he was a bit of out of favour where sometimes he was sub, sometimes he was playing at half back, sometimes he was playing half forward. Like, playing out of position where we weren't playing great either.
Yeah.
Starting to play better. George Hewitt found his form as that inside mid. And I think he's always known as that underrated player because he's not really seen, but kind of know, he's not as impactful as like a Walshy or a Cripper or a Chera because he just does sort of the down and under things. He doesn't really get enough credit for. But if you have a look at his stats and also have a look at his Supercoach points, he dominated. He dominated proceedings in that 8-week bracket. He dominated. And he was playing, especially in that final series when we needed a midfielder to stand up. He stood up alongside with Walshy, Chera, and of course Cripper. Those four midfielders was a big part as to why we won those two finals and we were leading. We don't really want to go back to that brilliant final, but we were obviously 5 goals up. That's a big factor. And the reason why he was so great is because he's just that inside mid and that brutal sort of gameplay that Carlton had that last probably 10 rounds. It's something to be missing. And I think George Hewitt is in store for a big season 2024. But we don't know because there's a lot of players that might play in that midfield and he might have a position change. I'm not too sure, but I'm really excited to see George Hewitt play and hopefully be at his best in season 2024. But now, last prediction we will go with is, of course, our ladder prediction. Now, by memory, I think you had us as first in the video that we did the quick fire prediction. Now, I had us as second. So, now my question is, our ladder prediction, but also if you have put us in the 8th, which I would be very surprised if you haven't put us in the 8 in the final series. Where do you think that we'll finish? So whether we might get eliminated in the semi-final, we might get eliminated in the elimination final. I want your ladder prediction where we finish at the end of the home and away season, but also how we go in the finals if we do make it.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to change my ladder prediction. It's not going to be too big of a difference. I said first, had a bit of fun. I think we can. There's nothing stopping us, but well, there probably is something stopping us. I think I think Brisbane's going to come first.
Yeah.
I think their home form last year, well, based on their home form last year, I don't think they're going to drop too many games there. And they often pinch a few here. Well, not really. They pinch a few away games in other states. So I think they're going to finish on top. Don't think it's going to overly matter for the final series because you've got to win the premiership, the MCG. So I think we're going to finish second. And so we'll finish second, get the home final. That's going to be massive. I think that's huge for I think top four is just huge for us, in my opinion. And the home final is just an extra bonus. And then we go through the final series. We play Collingwood in the qualifying final. We beat Collingwood in the qualifying final. We go straight through the prelim. Have a few weeks off. Cribber puts the legs up for the semi-finals, watches the teams go out. Then we've got the prelim. And I think we're going to play the Swans in the prelim final at the MCG. I think the Swans are going to be up there. There's been a few predictions. Grundy and Adams, their team was looking like they started shit last year. That's what hurt them, in my opinion.
Yeah, I like it.
And I think they've got the talent to push a prelim. So I think we play them in the prelim, get the job done there, and then we make the grand final. And I think that the grand final, I think it's going to be us in Brisbane. And I was trying to get Collingwood to make it because I want that fairy tale story, which I think could happen. And that could still happen. They could win the semi, they could win the prelim and make it through. So I just don't think they're going to beat Brisbane in Brisbane, Collingwood. So I think it's going to be us and the Brisbane Lions, and we're going to win by 11 points to win the premiership. And they're going to lose back-to-back. So if anyone's listening now, especially Harrow, if you're listening to it now, sorry about the loss. And you can record this all you like. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with being wrong. I'm fine with being wrong. But I seriously believe this team. And, we both watch this team in and out. We're not just putting up premiership fucking predictions. Like last year, we weren't really putting up premiership predictions. We're trying to push the 8. We were saying about 5th to 4th. And what did we finish? 5th. So the way this is progressing, Patto, hopefully we can get that top 4 spot at least. And then, see where it takes us, Patto, because I think if we can get an MCG home prelim, I think that is going to be massive for us if we want to win and hold the Premiership Cup. I think we have to have a home final.
Yeah.
Prelim final.
Yeah. I like it. No, I like it because now I've changed my predictions. So initially, I had Carlton as second on the ladder.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to keep Carlton as second. We are going to finish second.
Yep.
However, it's going to switch where the Pies. I reckon the Pies will finish 4th.
Yes.
We play the Swans in a qualifying final. They will finish 3rd. Brisbane will finish 1st. Brisbane versus Pies. Carlton versus the Swans. We will win. We will go through to a home prelim. Now, the Pies are going to beat the Lions. They're going to go through to a home prelim as well. Yep. Now, some way, somehow, we are going to verse the Brisbane Lions in a home prelim final. Yeah, and we will win by a point. The fairy tale. I'm very much about fairy tales. Don't know about you, Daffy Boy, but
we all are.
But I mean, I'm pretty much into the WWE. I like watching it. I like some fairy tales. And of course, we've seen some returns in the past 6 months of CM Punk and The Rock, all these guys. Now, I'm very much about fairy tales. Carlton, Collingwood, grand final. Carlton, Collingwood, grand final. That's going to be it. Now, I'm saying this right now. If we lose to the Pies in grand final, I'm fucking done with the podcast. I'm fucking done. I'm not.
We officially sign off, Baggers Chat. Never. Done. I'm flying to Papua New Guinea or something, and you'll never see me again. I'm off the grid.
Yep. I will try and spend every single dollar I have. I probably don't have a lot. I will try and find a way to buy a private island that I can go to. No one can see me again. I am not dealing with losing to Collingwood in a grand final. So, Blues are going to win by 20 points in the grand final.
Oh,
It's going to be last 5 minutes. You're just going to see the Pies walking out, and you'll just hear like,
no.
da, da, da.
Oh, you know what I can't wait for? I can't wait for people to record this and hold it. Someone will,
Oh,
for sure.
yeah,
Someone will watch
100%.
it. Someone will watch it and they'll record it and they'll hold on to it. And hopefully they'll be in hope that we lose the grand final or not make it at all. So,
Yeah.
but like I said before, Patto, we're not afraid to make a prediction here. And that's the
Yep.
whole point of this, What we're going to go into a season not thinking we can win the flag. This is probably the first season where I legitimately think we can win the flag in terms of, I think we've ticked off the final stuff. And it's not easy. If we lose a prelim, that could definitely happen. It could definitely happen. We could lose 2 final straight sets. Look at Melbourne. They're still going to be looking at a premiership window. And we're not even talking about them being in top 4, and they could definitely be top 4. So it's going to be a great season, in my opinion, as a whole. I think for the league. I think last year was great as well. I think there was a lot of unpredictabilities. I think obviously us and the Giants kind of just came out of nowhere and won finals and made prelims. So we're not even talking about them either. So and there's always a team like we did who finished 9th, 10th, and fly into the 8th. So that could be Adelaide. Who knows about Hawthorn? They look okay.
Yeah.
So our predictions, mate. We win the flag either way.
Look at us. We like last year we would have been like halfway through being like, oh, we have to go through a fucking rebuild again, all this shit. And we're predicting us to win the flag in season 2024. Only us, but that's the enjoyment of doing a podcast. And that's the thing.
Yep.
We are like whenever we do these podcasts, we never edit anything out. We are completely raw. We put everything out there. Yes, of course. I mean, now that I kind of realize that this is going to be out there, I'm kind of a little bit scared, but that's all right. But I mean, I will stand by my word every single time, and I well and truly think that Carlton is the best team in the AFL right now. And there's a lot of people that will say, "Oh, come on, like you guys only made a prelim." We were there, we were 5 goals up, and we just didn't we didn't know how to handle it. And that's just my opinion, where I think that Harry Mackay will have a big preseason, and I think there's a lot of things that is ticking along quietly as well.
Yeah.
Make up, like, our depth is something that we haven't seen before in years. Like
a lot of people and people outside of the club don't really notice it, because I've spoken to mates and stuff like that, and they go, "Oh, you're not seriously like thinking you're going to win the premiership." Oh, I am.
Yeah.
Well, there's all teams like mate. Collingwood fans are going to think it back to back to going to be the easiest thing in history, right?
Oh, exactly.
But good on them. I seriously, like, if we're fans, why do we turn up to the football if we don't think we're going to win the game of football?
Exactly right.
We've gone through years of shit where I've had to convince myself to go to the footy thinking we're going to win, even though we're going to lose. You know what I mean? But now we're past that stage where I'm going in every week thinking we can win the game.
Yeah.
And we should be out. Like, it's unbelievable. And it's exciting to think about. But I think for me, we have to have a home prelim. We can't be away.
Yep.
We cannot be away. It can't be Brisbane away again, or whoever it is, especially Brisbane away. Please do not be at the Gabba, the prelim final. Please do not.
Yeah. Completely agree. And that's why it brings a bit of PTSD. PTSD. I couldn't even say that boy. I'm that excited. About probably, I think it was 2018 when we were pretty ordinary. I think it was 80 points at halftime. Carlton versus Melbourne, and I was literally still there, and I'm like, 80 points. All right, so we need this many goals in this quarter. We need this many goals in that quarter to win the game. All right, is there still a chance? There's still a chance. And my mate was next to me. My mate was, he was like, "Are you fucking serious, mate? Let's fucking leave." And I'm like, no, let's stay. Still haven't left a game early. Oh, actually, no, I did leave a game early last year. I did. I think I left the Essendon game early with you.
Yeah. It was the final
score. Game I left early. That's just, it's pretty unbelievable. But of course, that is the final segment that we've touched on for the season preview for 2024. Absolute blast to be back with you, Daffy Boy, on Baggers Chat, but also starting to get the Carlton feeling. I have missed it. I think the break has been good. The break has been really good, just not worrying about Carlton and watching some of the Australian Open, watching some of the cricket, not really worrying about Carlton, but seeing all the news come out and just like, I'm missing it a lot. So I'm really excited. But before we wrap up the episode, Daffy Boy, is there anything else you would like to touch on?
Yeah, I'm just looking forward to it, Patto. Yeah, I think the break's been, long enough. Obviously, it's been a shorter break because we're deep in the finals this year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a quicker turnaround. But I feel like the break, you get to a point, I think, about now, that kind of late Jan going, yeah, I need the footy back in my life right now. From that prelim, like, it was just chaotic. Like, our brains were, like, after that, it was such a good release, you know what I mean, to have that kind of time off because it was just, we're doing more episodes we've ever done, because you're going into the finals, 2 episodes a week, you're doing other content, blah, blah, blah. Like it was just a complete mind fuck after a while, and it was a well-earned rest. But to our viewers, we're definitely going to have a good year this year, and posting content. If you've got any, ideas for content or, anything, any feedback, we're open to it. So feel free to shoot that in the comments or DMs or wherever. Because we want it to be bigger and better this year, which I think it will be.
Yeah, really well said, actually. I don't think there's much else I need to really speak about after that. But yeah, I mean, as I said, it's an absolute pleasure to be back doing another episode, and I think we're probably going to try and do a few. I mean, we're not too sure how the episodes are going to shape out throughout the next few weeks, especially with the practice games. But as soon as the practice games probably come, that's when we'll probably start doing the previews and reviews, and then of course we'll have another official practice game previews and reviews. Yep. And of course we'll head into the opening round. But as we mentioned at the start of the episode, you're going to the opening round, so that's awesome to get a bit of insight from your end.
There'll be content. I'll be doing content. Lock that in. Lock it in.
Yeah, awesome. But no, mate, absolute pleasure to be back on an episode again. It's always good to get the cobwebs off. But it's an absolute pleasure. But to you, Duffy Boy, and to every single blue bagger out there, up the baggers. I don't have a scale, but up the baggers.